How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, May 17th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, now that the NBA season is officially over, the regular season is officially over, before we get into the play-in tournaments, I think it's necessary to go through the season's statistical leaders in each category, at least going to the top 5, or because at the end of the season, I might as well do the top 10 just to give a sense of who all has been really high up in a lot of these stats that many people were unaware of. Starting off with, minutes played this season. The player that averaged the most minutes in this league, believe it or not, was Julius Randle, the all-star starting power forward for the New York Knicks, who are currently holding on to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference going into the playoffs. Of course, he would have a very big season for himself. All this while, averaging 24 points and helping lead the Knicks to the playoffs, all while, shooting 46% from the field, 41% from three, and 81% from the foul line. Julius Randle may go down as the most improved player of the year this season, but at the same time, it's his work ethic and his ability to stay in for 37, 38 minutes and will the Knicks to the playoffs. That's the impressive part. Second in the league in minutes per game was Fred VanVleet, the starting shooting guard for the Toronto Raptors. He averaged 36.5. Third in the league in scoring is the Washington Wizards elite starting point guard Russell Westbrook, who would average 36.4 minutes per game. Fourth in the league would be Harrison Barnes of the Sacramento Kings. He averaged 36.2. Fifth in the league was the Indiana Pacers all-star starting power forward Domantas Sabonis, who averaged 35.9. Tied with him was the Portland Trailblazers elite starting point guard Damian Lillard. They both averaged 35.9 minutes a game. Seventh in the league was Pascal Siakam, the elite starting power forward for the Toronto Raptors in the 56 games he played. He and Bradley Beal, the elite starting shooting guard for the Washington Wizards, both averaged 35.8 points per game. And the 9th place player on this list, Jayson Tatum, the elite starting small forward for the Boston Celtics. Bradley Beal, of course, it would take a lot of minutes to average at least 31 points per game in the season. And then 10th place in the league in minutes per game was Colin Sexton, the young starting point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And who would have himself a great season as well. Looking at points, because I'm going in order of what ESPN is giving me. I'm using ESPN at the moment, ESPN.com. Starting at the top, the league's leading scorer, the NBA scoring title, will go for the 2020-2021 season with the Steph Curry. He would go on to average 31.8 points per game, all while shooting 48% from the field, 42% from three while taking 12 and a half shots a game, and he shot 92% from the foul line while putting together an incredible season, which may go down as an MVP season, where he willed the Warriors without Klay Thompson to what could possibly be a playoff spot. So, of course, I tip my hat to Steph. Second in the league in scoring is Bradley Beal, who averaged 31.4 points. Third in the league is Damian Lillard, who he averaged 28.9. Joel Embiid, fourth in the league for the 76ers, he averaged 28.5. Fifth in the league was Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning NBA back-to-back MVP, the reigning MVP over the last 2 years. He would average 28.1. Sixth in the league will be the Dallas Mavericks elite starting point guard Luka Doncic, who averaged 27.9 points per game. Seventh in the league in scoring was Zach LaVine, the all-star starting shooting guard for the Chicago Bulls, who would average 27.4 points per game. Sitting right below him in 8th place is the elite starting point guard for Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving, who averaged 27.1 points per game. Ninth in the league was Zion Williamson, the elite starting power forward for the New Orleans Pelicans. He averaged 27 points straight up. And then tied for 10th in the league in scoring, averaging 26.4 points per game, you have the elite starting small forward for the Boston Celtics, Jayson Tatum, and Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets. Looking at the players who actually led the league in field goal percentage, or at least I guess in field goals made per game, because I think that's also an interesting fact too. Bradley Beal led the league in field goals made. He averaged 11.2 field goals made, which is almost one more field goal made than Stephen Curry and Zion Williamson, who both averaged 10.4. Giannis Antetokounmpo would finish averaging 10.3. He finished in fourth. The Milwaukee Bucks lead starting power forward. Kyrie Irving and Nikola Jokic would tie for fifth as they both averaged 10.2 made field goals per game. Zach LaVine and Luka Doncic would tie for seventh as they both averaged 9.8 field goals made per game. And then ninth and 10th will go to Nikola Vucevic, the all-star starting center who ended the season with the Chicago Bulls and started the season with the Orlando Magic, and Jayson Tatum, the elite starting small forward for the Boston Celtics. They all averaged 9.5 field goals made per game. Looking at the field goal percentage leaders, the field goal percentage crown in this season went to Rudy Gobert, the elite starting center for the Utah Jazz, as he went on to average 14.3 points. While he shot 67% from the field on about 8.2 shots per game. Sitting right behind him was the starting center for the Sacramento Kings, Richaun Holmes, who made 63.7% of his shots. Third in the league at 62.8 was Robin Lopez, Washington Wizards starting center out of Stanford. Right behind him, DeAndre Ayton the starting center for the Phoenix Suns, shot 62.6% from the field. Sitting right below him in fifth place was Jared Allen, the starting center for the Cleveland Cavaliers, who started his season with the Brooklyn Nets. He would shoot 62.3% from the field on the season. Sitting below him in sixth place is the reigning NBA Sixth Man of the Year, Montrezl Harrell, who's currently playing for the Lakers now. He would shoot 62.2% from the field in 69 games. Right behind him, Zion Williamson would shoot 61.1% from the field in 61 games. Thus far, out of all the players I've named, he's averaged the most points, almost doubling that of the second player on this list, maybe DeAndre Ayton, who's averaging 14.4. Zion's averaging 27 points, which, of course, is its own flex. Eighth in the league was Ennis Cantor, who shot 60% from the field. Ninth in the league was Clint Capela, the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks. He would shoot 59.4% from the field. And 10th in the league was Jonas Valenciunas, the starting center for the Memphis Grizzlies, who will go on to shoot 58.8% from the field on the season. Looking at how the players who shot from three went, the NBA's leading three-point shooter was Joe Harris, the starting small forward for the Brooklyn Nets. He would shoot 47.5% from three on the season while shooting 6.4 attempts per game, which is the most attempts per game out of the players that are shooting out of the players in the top 10 for three-point percentage. Second in the league was Marcus Morris Sr., the starting small forward for the Los Angeles Clippers. He would shoot 47.3% from three. Right behind him was Bobby Portis, the starting center for the Milwaukee Bucks, who shot 47% from three. Right behind him was Bryn Forbes, the starting shooting guard for the Milwaukee Bucks, or the point guard, the shooting guard off the bench, who would shoot 45.2% from three. And then in fifth place, it was the Utah Jazz six-man Joe Ingles, who was shooting 45.1% from three. Sitting in sixth place, it is the brother of the Golden State Warriors go-to starting point guard, Seth Curry, for the Philadelphia 76ers, who would shoot 45% from three, along with Kevin Durant, the goated starting power forward for the Brooklyn Nets, who only played 35 games. In eighth place, it was Luke Kennard, the starting shooting guard for the Los Angeles Clippers, as he would shoot 44.6% from three. Ninth place would go to Michael Porter Jr., the starting small forward of the Denver Nuggets, who would shoot 44.5% from three. And then in 10th place, it will be Cameron Payne, the point guard for the Phoenix Suns, who would shoot 44% from three in the 60 games that he played. Looking at the looking at the three-pointers made leaders, of course, the leader was Stephen Curry. He averaged 5.3 made threes per game, which is second more than the second place person on this list, Damian Lillard, the elite starting point guard for the Portland Trailblazers, as he made 4.1 three-pointers per game. Third in the league was Buddy Hield, the starting shooting guard for the Sacramento Kings, as he made 4 threes per game. Fourth in the league was CJ McCollum, the starting shooting guard of the Portland Trailblazers, as he made 3.6 threes per game. Fifth in the league went to Duncan Robinson, the starting shooting guard for Miami at times, as he would make 3.5 threes per game alongside Malik Beasley, the shooting guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Seventh in the league in three-pointers made, there was a tie. The all-star shooting guard from the Chicago Bulls, Zach Levine, and the elite starting shooting guard for the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell. They both averaged 3.4 made threes per game. And then tied for ninth, there's a three-way tie for ninth in terms of the players that averaged 3.3 made threes per game. It was Fred VanVleet, the starting shooting guard of the Toronto Raptors, Bogdan Bogdanovic, who at times would start at point guard for the Atlanta Hawks this season, or started shooting guard of the Atlanta Hawks this season, and then Devontae Graham, a player who started at times for the Charlotte Hornets, as they all averaged 3.3 made threes per game. Looking at free throws, starting with free throws made per game, the leader in free throws made per game was Joel Embiid, the elite starting center for the Philadelphia 76ers. He averaged 9.2 made free throws per game, and he would average 28.5 points per game. He averaged more free throws made per game than field goals made per game, which is an insane stat that I'm just realizing now that I'm looking at the numbers. Second in the league was Trae Young, the elite starting point guard for the Atlanta Hawks. He would average 7.7 made free throws per game, of course, because a lot of his game is revolved around kind of like drawing fouls and making advantages from being one of the small players on the court that can actually do everything that he does. Third in the league in free throws made was Jimmy Butler, the elite starting forward for the Miami Heat, who averaged 6.9 made free throws per game, 0.8 less than Trae Young, and 2.3 less than Joel Embiid. Fourth in the league in free throws made was Bradley Beal, the elite starting shooting guard for the Washington Wizards, who averaged 6.3 made free throws per game. Fifth in the league was Damian Lillard, the elite starting point guard for the Portland Trailblazers, who made 6.7 free throws per game. Sixth in the league was Giannis Antetokounmpo, the elite starting power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks, who won this year's All-Star Game MVP, would average 6.5 made free throws a game. Seventh in the league is DeMar DeRozan, the starting small forward for the San Antonio Spurs. He averaged 6.3 made free throws a game alongside James Harden, the elite starting shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets, who started his season with the Houston Rockets. In ninth place, Zion Williamson and Kevin Durant both averaged 6 free throws made per game this season. Looking at the free throw percentage leaders, number one sitting at the very top was Chris Paul, the elite starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns, who helped lead them to the second best record in the West. You would make 93.4% of his free throws. Second in the league was Damian Lillard, who averaged 92.8 free throws per game while making 6.7 of them a game. So, of course, he was a high-volume free throw shooter. In third place, Danilo Gallinari shot 92.5% from the foul line for Atlanta as a power forward. Fourth place went to Kyrie Irving, the elite starting point guard for the Brooklyn Nets, as he shot 92.2% from the line. Fifth place belongs to Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors, this year's scoring title winner, as he would go on to average 91.6 free throws made per game. And then Kobe White would end up averaging 90.1 free throw he would shoot 90.1% from the foul line on the season. Right behind him in seventh place was Kemba Walker, the elite starting point guard for the Boston Celtics, who in the 43 games he played, he would shoot 89.9%. Eighth place went to Chris Middleton, the starting small forward of the Milwaukee Bucks, who shot 89.8% from the foul line. Ninth place went to Jordan Clarkson, the sixth man of the Utah Jazz, who would shoot 89.6% from the foul line. And then Tobias Harris, the starting power forward of the Eastern Conference leading Philadelphia 76ers, would shoot 89.2% from the foul line on the season. Looking at the rebound title holders, the rebounding title for 2020-2021 belongs to Clint Capela, the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks, who averaged 14.3 rebounds per game and who finished with 48 double-doubles on the season, despite averaging 15.2 points per game. He would tie for fifth in the NBA alongside Nikola Vucevic and Domantas Sabonis in double-doubles. Two players that were actually all-stars in the East this year, just to give a sense of how good Clint Capela's season was this year. Second in the league in scoring was Rudy Gobert, the elite starting center for the Utah Jazz. He averaged 13.5 rebounds per game. Third in the league was Jonas Valenciunas, who averaged 12.5 rebounds per game for the Memphis Grizzlies. Fourth in the league was Domantas Sabonis, who averaged 12 rebounds for the Indiana Pacers in his second straight All-Star season. Fifth in the league in rebounds was the Chicago Bulls All-Star starting center Nikola Vucevic, who finished with 11.5 rebounds per game this season. And some of those games, of course, were played with the Orlando Magic, I must mention. And right behind him in sixth place, the only appearance of a non-big man on this list is Russell Westbrook, the elite starting point guard for the Washington Wizards, as he averaged 11.5 rebounds to go with his triple-double season. Sitting right behind him, tied for 7th with 11 rebounds per game, was Ennis Cantor, the starting center for the Portland Trailblazers, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, the elite starting power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks. 9th in the league was Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets, who've averaged 10.8 rebounds per game. And then 10th in the league was Joel Embiid, the elite starting center for the Philadelphia 76ers, who went on to average 10.6 rebounds per game, just to give a sense of how all these players were playing. Now looking at the assist leaders for the year, the assist title for 2020-21 goes to Russell Westbrook, the elite starting point guard of the Washington Wizards. He was the only player this year to finish with double-digit assists, surprisingly. And of course, going down with his 4th triple-double season ever. I'll get to that when it gets to the triple-doubles. Regardless, right behind him, Trae Young, the elite starting point guard of the Atlanta Hawks, would finish averaging 9.4 assists per game this season. Right behind him, Chris Paul, the elite starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns, and Draymond Green, the starting power forward for the Golden State Warriors, both tied for 3rd in assists. They both averaged 8.9 assists per game this season. Draymond did so while averaging 7 points per game, so that's impressive. 5th in the league in assists was Luka Doncic, the elite starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, as he averaged 8.6 this season. 6th in the league, as the only appearance of a big man in this list, is Nikola Jokic, the elite center for the Denver Nuggets, averaged 8.3. 7th in the league was Damian Lillard, the elite starting point guard for the Portland Trailblazers, who averaged 7.5 assists per game. 8th in the league was Ja Morant, the elite starting point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies. He went on to average 7.4 assists per game. De'Aaron Fox, the starting point guard for the Sacramento Kings, would finish 9th in the league in assists, as he finished with 7.2. And last but not least, Jimmy Butler, the elite starting small forward, the only wing on this list, would finish with 7.1 assists. And I guess Draymond Green does count as a big, so he and Nikola Jokic are the 2 big men that appeared on this list for assists. For 2020-21, the steals title went to Jimmy Butler, the elite starting small forward for Miami. He was the only player this year who averaged at least 2 steals per game. Second place went to TJ McConnell, the point guard for the Indiana Pacers, who averaged 1.9. 3rd in the league went to Fred VanVleet, the starting shooting guard for the Toronto Raptors, who averaged 1.7, alongside the starting power forward, Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors. And then there is a good tie for 5th place, a 6-way tie. Drew Holiday, the starting point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks. Matisse Thybulle, the shooting guard for the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons, the elite starting point guard of the Philadelphia 76ers. DeLon Wright, the starting guard for the Detroit Pistons, who started with Sacramento. LaMelo Ball, the elite rookie starting point guard for the Charlotte Hornets. And Kawhi Leonard, the goated starting shooting guard for the Los Angeles Clippers, each finished averaging 1.6 steals on the season, as of course they put together amazing seasons. Looking at who won the blocks title in 2020-21, that of course goes to the Utah Jazz elite starting center Rudy Gobert, who would finish averaging 2.7 blocks per game this season. Right under him was the starting center for the New York Knicks, Nerlens Noel. At 3rd place would go to Clint Capela, the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks. 4th would go to the power forward for the Toronto Raptors, Chris Boucher. 5th, it would be the tie for 5th would go to Jakob Poeltl, the starting center for the San Antonio Spurs, and Robert Williams III, the center for the Boston Celtics that comes off the bench. 7th place would go to Rashawn Holmes of the Sacramento Kings, as he averaged 1.6 blocks per game. 8th place went to Brook Lopez of the Milwaukee Bucks, as he averaged 1.5. And then the tie for 9th for 1.4 blocks per game belongs to Jared Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers after originally starting in Brooklyn. Daniel Gafford, who's now in Washington after starting with Chicago. And then Joel Embiid, the elite starting center for the Philadelphia 76ers, They all ended up with at least 1.4 blocks this season. Looking at who led the league in turnovers per game, With that, too, not that many people surprised. The player who led the league in turnovers this year was Russell Westbrook, the elite starting point guard from the Washington Wizards, who, of course, you have to take some risk to maintain your triple-double standard. Second in the league was Luka Doncic, the elite starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, who averaged 4.3 under Russell Westbrook's 4.8. Third in the league was Trae Young, the elite starting point guard for Atlanta, as he averaged 4.1 on the season. Fourth in the league was James Harden, the elite starting shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets, who started the season with the Houston Rockets. There were 4 players that averaged 4 turnovers per game. Fifth was LeBron James, the goated small forward for the Los Angeles Lakers, who averaged 3.7 turnovers. Sixth and seventh would go to John Wall, the elite starting point guard of the Houston Rockets, and Zach Levine, the all-star starting shooting guard for the Chicago Bulls. They both averaged 3.5 turnovers. And then there's a tie for eighth. Domantas Sabonis, the all-star starting power forward for the Indiana Pacers. Kevin Durant, the goated starting power forward for the Brooklyn Nets. Julius Randle, the newest all-star power forward for the New York Knicks. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Milwaukee Bucks elite starting power forward, and Stephen Curry, the elite point guard of the goated point guard of the Golden State Warriors, all finished averaging 3.4 turnovers per game last season. Looking at the next stat in double-doubles, the leader this year in double-doubles went to Nikola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets, this year who would average 26.4 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 8.3 assists. It's only natural that if he didn't get in rebounds, he probably got an assist. Second in the league in double-doubles was Russell Westbrook, who of course led the league in triple-doubles by a wide margin. He finished second under Nikola Jokic with only 59 on the season. Third in the league would be a tie between Jonas Valenciunas, the starting center for the Memphis Grizzlies, and Rudy Gobert, the elite starting center for the Utah Jazz. They both averaged 49 points on the season. They both averaged 49 double-double. They both finished with 49 double-doubles, tied for fifth with 48 double-doubles is Nikola Vucevic, the all-star starting center for the Chicago Bulls that started the season with the Orlando Magic. Clint Capela, the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks. And Domantas Sabonis, the all-star power forward for the Indiana Pacers. And then there's a two-way tie for eighth with 41 double-doubles. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo, the elite starting power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks. And Julius Randle, the all-star power forward for the New York Knicks. And then 10th place they all had 41 double-doubles in the season, and then 10th place, or they both had 41, and then 10th place went to Ennis Cantor, the starting center for the Portland Trailblazers. He finished with 34 double-doubles on the season. Looking at who led the league in triple-doubles, I guess going through what that list looks like, the league leader, of course, was Russell Westbrook. He's the triple-double king, and this year he passed Oscar Robertson for the most triple-doubles in NBA history, as this would be his 4th season in a row in which he's averaged a double-double in his career. Last year he didn't do it with Houston, but the previous 3 years in Oklahoma City he did, all while averaging 22.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, and 11.7 assists. Second in the league in triple-doubles was Nicola Yokitch, who finished with 16 of them in 72 games, as the center would average 26.4 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 8.3 assists on the season. Third in the league was James Harden, the elite starting shooting guard for the Brooklyn Nets, who in the 44 games he played, he had 12 triple-doubles. He would average, 25 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 10.8 assists. And then fourth in the league, the only 4 players in the league this year had double-digit triple-doubles. That one belonged to Luka. Luka Doncic, the elite starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, went on to average 27.7 points per game, while also averaging 8 rebounds and 8.6 assists. Sitting 5th in the league in triple-doubles was Domantas Sabonis, the starting power forward, the all-star power forward for the Indiana Pacers, who had 9. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the elite starting power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks, had 6. Draymond Green, the starting power forward for the Golden State Warriors, and Julius Randle, the all-star power forward for the New York Knicks, finished 7th in the league with 6. LeBron James, the goated small forward of the Los Angeles Lakers, finished with 5 triple-doubles in 45 games. That was 9th in the league. And then 10th tied with 4 triple-doubles on the season. It was Jimmy Butler, the elite starting small forward for the Miami Heat. Ben Simmons, the elite starting point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers, and DeJounte Murray, the starting point guard for the San Antonio Spurs. And last but not least, looking at player efficiency rating, sitting at the very top with a historic player efficiency rating within a season is Nicola Jokic, the elite starting center for the Denver Nuggets, who's at 31.36. Second in the league, Joel Embiid, who had a 30.32. Only two players in the league with a PER above 30. Third in the league was Giannis Antetokounmpo at 29.24. Fourth in the league was Zion Williamson at 27.17. Fifth in the league was Jimmy Butler at 26.57. Stephen Curry finished sixth with 26.36. Kawhi Leonard finished seventh in the league, as he would finish with 26.09. Eighth in the league was Robert Williams, the backup center for the Boston Celtics, who would finish a 25.71 PER. And while very clearly averaging the least amount of minutes on this list by about 13, ninth in the league in player efficiency rating was Damian Lillard, who had one of 25.65, and 10th in the league was Luka Doncic, who had a player efficiency rating of 25.33 following last night's game. With that said, those are all of the statistical leaders that ESPN will allow access to at this moment, and I think they're completely necessary, relevant stats to recognize these players for performing at the best of their ability for the 2020-2021 season that I know has been rough, a lot of traveling, a lot of COVID mandates, but they were able to make it through the season. And once again, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 26 minutes of this episode. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I will get ready to get started to transitioning into the NBA playoffs, especially the NBA play-in tournament. But until then, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.